Welcome to the Period Besties podcast with Stasha and Katie. Think about it as chatting with your best friends about all the TMI stuff you've never talked about before with two period coaches who've been helping hormones collectively for over 20 years now. I'm Stasha.
And I'm Katie, and we're pulling back the curtain on what it's like in the world of menstrual coaching. From puberty to menopause and everything in between, we're here to show you how period coaching can save the day. We'll share practical tips and information you can put to immediate use to improve your hormones and happiness.
We're removing the mystery, ending the taboo, and shining a light on just how powerful period coaching can be.
So whether you need period coaching or are considering becoming a period coach yourself, these episodes are going to help you. We'll share stories, coach live on air, and bring smart, savvy guests to share their wisdom too. Let's start today's episode.
Welcome back, Period Besties. Today, we're going to be talking about PMS and PMDD, and some of the things we might be talking about might be a little bit of a trigger for suicide ideations. If you've experienced intense PMDD before, just throwing out a warning before you listen into our episode today.
Yes, it's a good thing to be noted.
PMDD is very intense. And if you are tracking, if you're charting and you're really noticing post-ovulation, feeling like a completely different person, right? We're talking intense rage, intense mood swings, intense feelings like you might hurt yourself or somebody else, really seek out medical help, mental health support, because it is real. PMDD is real, and getting support with that is going to be essential. And like I mentioned before, when you're charting and you're really noticing, oh my goodness, every month at this time, I'm feeling this way, that can be really helpful to bring into a therapist's office and getting the help and support that you need, because it's not just mood swings. It's not just rage. Like, it's intense. And you're going to feel like it's all you because you're in it, and getting support from somebody else to help you is going to be essential.
Absolutely. So PMDD is premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and PMS and PMDD both have a lot of symptoms, and they are very similar symptoms except for the extremes. So PMS can feel like mood swings where you're irritated, you might snap a little bit, you might get a little depressed or anxious, you might feel a ramp up of those kinds of feelings. And there's the physical symptoms: fatigue, tender breasts, bloating, digestive issues, brain fog, that kind of stuff. PMDD is where it's affecting your life. You're unable to get out of bed because you are so depressed. You are unable to go to work because your anxiety will not let you leave the house. You have suicidal ideation. You are so irritable that your relationships are failing. You can't hold a friendship, a marriage, a relationship because it's so extreme that it's causing real damage in your relationships day to day. You're not able to hold down a job. So it significantly impacts your life. And I have not had PMDD. I have had several clients with PMDD. All of them had gone to a doctor and were in therapy, and several of them were on antidepressants. They all came because they felt like the approach was inappropriate for what was happening to them. They didn't feel like they needed to be on antidepressants 24/7 when it was only 2 weeks out of the month that it was affecting them. But it was such a drastic problem that they were on antidepressants, but they were not necessarily even all that effective. So they really were in this place where they wanted to do the right thing for themselves, but they also felt like there was something missing in their care process. They weren't getting proper support for what was actually going on. So all of them, except for maybe one or two, had a PMDD diagnosis when they came to me. There was one or two that when we talked through everything, I was like, this is PMDD. You need to go talk to your doctor. So for the most part, if you are in an extreme where you're feeling like your PMS is not a normal PMS or an average, and I hate to say normal, but 90% of people suffer from PMS at some point. So it is unfortunately normal, although it's not supposed to be. If you feel like your symptoms of PMS are off the rails, you may be into PMDD. I know there's research out there that says 5%, 10% of the population. I would say it's probably closer to 10% of the population from my work. It's a little bit like endometriosis, though. It's hard to get a diagnosis. So if the data says, 10% of the population, I always like mentally, I'm like, it's probably more than that. And just people aren't getting the diagnosis that they're supposed to be getting. So you may be suffering from some level of PMDD without even knowing it. This is part of what we want you to recognize in this situation. If you or a friend, someone that you know or love, seems like, boy, they are really rocked every month, maybe it's time to start talking about PMDD as a possible diagnosis.
Yeah, that can be really helpful just to be there and listen and support them in that way. And yourself, just know that it's your hormones, right? Like so often, I don't have PMDD either. I've worked with a few clients, and big part of what we were doing was trying to ensure that they knew that they weren't doing anything to cause that in their body. Like it was hormones, so that they could take a step back a little bit and be like, okay, what can I do? And I understand it. Like I've had some intense PMS rage where I just felt like this was monster was boiling and boiling and coming out of me. And I can understand how, if that happened every single month to a much higher degree than that, how that would really affect my psyche and my overall mental health, but also my relationships, and also just feeling like I was doing something. So it's really trying to understand that let's get you the proper support and help so that you can manage it a little bit better, and like keeping your blood sugar balance and diet and reducing sugar and definitely reducing alcohol and other different things can help, but it's that mental health support around it that I think is actually essential when going through something like this.
Absolutely. I would say non-negotiables is having support for therapy, because even if you do get the hormonal balance piece in line and things are better, there's still all of that baggage from having to live with it that comes up that really is helpful. Trauma support therapies, that's because at that point, when you have PMDD, there's a point where you're now in PTSD or potentially CPTSD, right? You've been living with this for a long time. It's affected a lot of your life, relationships, everything. So, getting mental health help, but also making sure that you have someone who is trauma informed to really deal with the excess baggage that comes from dealing with it is very helpful. You may need an antidepressant. You may not. One of the things that we saw with, at least with my clients, was that the antidepressants were not ultimately what they needed. Progesterone turned out to be what they needed more so than antidepressants. So I think all of my clients, I'd have to go back and look at notes, but I'm pretty sure all of them that were on antidepressants worked with their doctor to safely come off them responsibly. But yeah, I'm pretty sure all of them that were on antidepressants came off of them. I'm also pretty positive, though, that all of the ones that were on an antidepressant started taking progesterone. It wasn't that they went medication free. It was that they got a medication that was actually more suited for what was going on for them in particular. That said, an antidepressant might be exactly what you need. So do what works for you and what feels best for you and what makes the best sense for you and what makes you feel the best in the end. Maybe it's both, right? Like this isn't an either or situation. It could be that the answer is both. But one thing that I see that slips through the cracks so much with the medical side of things is the progesterone. There is a level of which hormonal balance issues, so the same things that you would do for PMS, really do help to diminish the PMDD symptoms, make them a little less intense. But oftentimes with PMDD, you need the additional support. You need progesterone. You may need an estrogen. You may need testosterone. It just kind of depends on what's going on for you specifically. So, hormone testing, and I would say not just once, I would really ask for a couple of them throughout the month to see where your different levels are throughout your whole cycle. So if you can get a doctor, maybe you need to workshop a few doctors, but if you can get a doctor who's willing to do a few different tests throughout the month to see where your levels are pre-ovulation, during ovulation, and I really would love to see two post ovulation. I'd love to see one a week after ovulation and then another one premenstrual, like a couple of days before your period, ideally, just to see where your hormones are and if there are deficits in more than one or one in particular. But that's one of the gaps that I see the biggest is that there's not the hormonal support. We don't think of adding in hormones for anything aside from like a hysterectomy or postmenopausal. So this is really one of those instances where it might not be birth control that's the answer, although that's typically what's prescribed. And sometimes that can be very helpful. And maybe that is the answer for you. That's shutting down the hormones, though, which maybe that works. But I find that, at least with my clients, it was more helpful to supplement the missing hormones than to shut down all of the hormones. So you may need to try. There may be a little bit of trial and error. You can talk to your doctor, keep notes, track, chart, go through it with it. But I definitely found that it was a combination of things. And you do need that mental health support. You've been rocked. Your body, your brain, you're in a sense of trauma in this space. There's just no way around it, and it's okay. You're not alone. Also, there's probably a physical support, whether it's food and diet, which it has been with every client. We've definitely rearranged food and diet to their benefit. But there was also an added help. They needed that little extra support of progesterone.
I mean, that makes so much sense to me. And again, it slips through the cracks so often, but I just did this with a client who doesn't have insurance. We ended up doing a Dutch test because they have this month one that you can do. So you literally test every single day. And I think it was like $300 versus if they actually got blood work without insurance, it would have been way more. And because she was having such intense rage that was not typical in terms of PMS, like getting divorced almost every single month, basically. So going through that, and it was interesting because she was working with her doctor, she had a therapist, and we talked a lot about progesterone. I kept saying progesterone, progesterone, progesterone. The doctor kept coming back with birth control, birth control. And ultimately, my client decided to start with progesterone and really noticed a huge difference, like within a week or two, even probably sooner than that, like just really noticed. I wouldn't say it's completely gone, but we're still working on like diet and lifestyle, other things, but like 100% progesterone definitely isn't talked about as much as birth control is with PMDD. And I'm not saying it's bad, that like what you said before, that might be what you need, but I think we should be talking about all tools in the toolbox.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we need you here. One of the things that three of my clients, and I can see each of them clearly saying it, was that in their PMDD flare, they just felt like they were useless, that they were nothing but a drain on the world, that they didn't have any reason for being, and that they were just making everything harder and worse for everyone that they loved. And that the best thing that they could do for their loved ones was to leave the world, exit the world. None of my PMDD clients were really the rage ones. They were the suicidal ideation ones, which is funny that that worked out how it did with you and me, since rage is one of your perimenopause symptoms, and I am definitely lean towards the anxiety and depression side of things. But yeah, it was something that just, I mean, absolutely, they were convinced that the world, their loved ones, would be in a better place and have an easier life if they were not in it. That's PMDD. It's that voice telling you that's true when it's absolutely the opposite. We need you. We need you on the face of the planet. We need you doing the work that you're doing. And a few of my PMDD clients have gone on to be period coaches because they didn't want anyone else to feel the way they did, right? So now they're out there literally saving lives as
Oh my
well.
goodness, that's
So
amazing.
yeah, it really, the that's that illness speaking, right? And I know that because endometriosis says that to me too regularly. So I know what it's like to have an illness telling you something and believing it because you're just in the depths of it. But at the end of the day, whatever it is that helps you stay on this planet and be a positive beacon and light in the world is what we really ultimately want. And PMDD, unfortunately, is one of those conditions that it was really funny. I was watching old episodes of SVU like a year ago, just in an endo flare, and I was like, I'm gonna go start from season one. And they used PMDD in an episode because a woman lost her mind and just murdered, right? Like the rage, literally murdered. And like that's also taking yourself out of the game, right?
Yes.
Because orange is not the best color for most people. So it's just one of those things like, even if it is the rage that's surfacing and you break something, you end up dealing with jail time or lawyers or whatever. Like that's taking yourself out of the game and being the person that we know you actually are and could be helping the world. Same thing with the suicidal ideations. It's not a benefit of the world for you to be gone. We need you out here fighting the good fight and helping. So, really, I know it's hard when you're in the throes of it, but in those breaks where PMDD eases off, get your appointments made and get support so that you can get the help you need. So if it's saying like, okay, I've got my period, I'm feeling better now, the dam has break and I'm feeling sane, better, help, make your doctor's appointments and get a friend so that you go, somebody who's going to pick you up, drag your butt there, advocate for you, whatever you need to do. Make them for a time that you know that you'll feel a bit better, but write everything down when you're in the depths so that you can take it to your doctor's appointment and advocate for yourself properly. Whatever it is that you need to do. And the other thing is that you might need not just a doctor or an OBGYN, you might need an actually PMDD period coach. You may need somebody who has experience with PMDD. I've had clients, I've had students who have never heard of PMDD before. I've had OBGYNs, more than one, say, I didn't know about PMDD until I heard you talking about it. So it's not necessarily a well-known condition. And if your doctor doesn't even know that it exists, then how are they going to help you? So you may need to hire somebody, a period coach who has some kind of PMDD knowledge to help you and your doctor get through it together as a team. So you may need to have extra support for it, not just, that friend, but you may need to have somebody who actually understands PMDD to help you move through it as well. So just know that you need support. It's out there. There is support for sure. There are definitely people who are there that are happy to help, but it's a more hands on deck than just yours issue. And it's not, oh, birth control cures it. You never have to worry about it again situation. It is a ongoing issue that you're going to have to monitor and take care of. It's like celiac. You just can't eat gluten. It's not, oh, I can't eat gluten until I feel better and then I'll start eating it again. That's your life. Endometriosis, this is my life. PMDD, this is your life. So understanding that and knowing that you're going to have to make some changes and that takes support, you're going to need some support and some love and some people around you to help do that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good message and something that we can all take, whether we are dealing with PMDD, just intense PMS, and or something else that's going on in our life. Just make sure you get support. We're here. There's people here looking out for you and ready to help you. So if you have any questions, if you need any additional resources, please reach out. And we hope that this was really helpful for you. We will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.
A big shout out and thank you to our sponsors for today's episode, Period Coaching School and Katie Bresek Wellness.
Thanks to you, our favorite bestie.
for listening to the Period Besties podcast, where no topic is TMI. And of course, share this episode with your besties.
Remember to leave us a 5-star review, nothing less than the best for us besties, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
You can follow us on Instagram at Stasha Washburn and at Katie Bressak, or email us at periodbestiespodcast@gmail.com.
Check out more about us at katiebressak.com and periodcoachingschool.com. And of course, check the show notes for free goodies and extras that support this episode.
We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye for now, besties.